So Lesley, I wanted you to talk about some of the elements that you've incorporated into ADORN Freeform 2.
Okay, now, you know, it's interesting that the way this was constructed, because basically, he's the architect builder. And in this particular instance, it sort of flipped, because what happened was he started making different forms. The top piece of the installation are maybe about 6 or 7 different forms, free forms that he was experimenting with. And all he was doing when he got the material was making these forms. And I came in, and his house has just been transformed to a total studio, and I said, okay, now what am I supposed to do? He said, I don't know, I'm just making this stuff, you're supposed to figure it out. So I said, okay. And I looked at it and I went, wow, I said, this is really strange, because I was getting, one of my passions where he lives in Prince George County is that there are a lot of churches and there are a lot of new African immigrants who come in. The thing is that as they have assumed either a Catholic persuasion or an Episcopalian or AME persuasion, they still dress very traditionally. So on Sundays, I like to go out with the guys of doing domestic shopping, and I ride by the churches to see the women in their galeries. And so I looked at this and I said, wow, these look like some of the wraps, head wraps that I see. So as we were talking about what we would do for this installation, it came down to a question of where his passion and his respect for women rest. And it's very similar to, do I have to go to the circle?
Go to the piece.
Go to the piece?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Speak up. Tell me what you want to do. Don't worry. So the top of the installation is about 6 or, no, I can do this, but you know, I can manipulate it. But this is a conglomeration of about 6, 7, 8 different individual forms that he made. And as we were talking about him making jewelry, I said, you know, one of the things that has become very clear in his relationship with jewelry is that, one, people ask us, why don't you go online and have a website? And he has developed a relationship with his clients, and he likes to keep it very customized, so it's one-on-one. He likes to tweak it. And then he gets mirrors. We have mirrors when we sell the gems. And he likes people to look at themselves and to feel comfortable and have the pieces of jewelry talk to themselves or each other. So I said, well, look, you know, I like to collect old, you know, I have weird things. I like to collect old mirrors. So I had this old mirror that I had collected. I said, let's get this Myrtis face. And the people, when they come, they can look at it. And I said, and then why don't you make kind of like an excessive jewelry? That is, make these long, long necklaces. So he started making black ones. I said, too dark, no. Then he started making multicolored ones. I said, And then he said, well, I said, why don't we just stay, because he had these forms already made, let's stay white. Let's stay in that rut. So as he started to make these long, these are like 6, 8 feet long. And when they're not this anymore, he'll probably sell them. They can be belts. You know, I wear them. They're triples or doubles or quadruples. They're gorgeous. But I also collect fabrics, because my grandmother was a seamstress, and I love textiles. I used to weave fabric. So this is a shoki cloth. This is Nigerian wedding cloth. This is what brides wear. And so I said, well, let's take it on shoki and work with the shoki. Since we have these forms, we have the mirror, affectation of necklaces. And then I will do kind of like what is a quote-unquote vanity. You know, your grandmother, women's homes, women's boudoirs, bathrooms. There's always a space where we have our stuff. And I say stuff with great personal intensity. And it's all of the things that we use to mix to make ourselves beautiful before we go out to present ourselves to the world, or before we walk out of our bedroom to just deal with the routines of life. But there's all of this kind of stuff, and there's always like a little tray there. Usually my grandmother always had a mirror tray, so he found these mirror trays. And as we were having this conversation, he would go out looking for these things. I go into the junk stores. He's not real crazy about that. He's an architect, high design. So he would go out and find things. And then the objects that you see around here are things that come from my grandmother's dresser, her boudoir, her vanity. And these are sachets, and if you pick it up and just crunch it like this, it still smells with the lavenders and the sachets, you understand? And when I was talking about the shea butter, that's shea butter that is made in Ghana when you pick it up by the Vaseline Corporation. So when I found it, I went, oh, this is so cool, you know. So I used it for a while, and I said, no, this goes part of my installation because I could never find it. There's black soap there, that's the soap in Africa, traditional soap that they would use. They're cowrie shells. And then the other thing I collect are laces, because I'm very interested in the anonymity of women's work, the fact that so many women had a way to express themselves, but their names are never on anything because their work is so perishable and dismissible that we go to the thrift shop and we find these beautiful things that were made by somebody's mother, some woman in the family, to decorate the home, to make the home a space of sacredness on the table, on the sofa, on the mantle or whatever. So I collect them oftentimes, and I will use them whether they're in good shape or not. So this one is slightly damaged, which means it was used, it had a past life. So it brings energy to the piece. On the bottom of the skirt is again another piece of a shoki cloth, Then, as I'm working on it, I had asked Myrtis if she had a small stool that I could sit on, just because my back was old and hurt and broke down, and I wanted to sit and really work on this. And she brought me a stool, and I sat on this stool during the duration. And then as I was sitting on this stool, I said, wait a minute, Myrtis, do you have any? Well, Myrtis just happens to collect stools. So she brought down about 3 or 4 stools. She said, which size do you want? I said, that one is perfect. Now, on the stool, I placed basically what in the Caribbean we would call is a trivet, made out of cowrie shells, okay? It's an 8-point star, 8-point star. It's a sign of harmony of the universe. But then, to end off this, you asked me a question when you first said, she said, well, is this to any saint or Orisha or deity or whatever? And I said, oh, no. Well, the other day there's a lecture going on at school, and there's a young man talking, and all of a sudden he says something, and I went, oh my God, thank God for smartphones, I pick it up. And I go to my cell phone and I log in, the name of the Orisha, Obatala. And I got almost freaked out when I started reading. I was trying to, and I gave you a written statement, which was very generic and whatever, and it was really talked about how Jose and I put it together. But what happened was, is when this other artist was talking, it reminded me about something that Michael referred to, which was the magic. The magic is really the shamanism, the spirit, okay? And the intuitive process that goes on between collaborators or people in artistic communities. And this was a very intuitive process between Jose and I, where we were trying to link and meld. Obatala in Yoruba religion is the deity, the Orisha, who is responsible for the head, and all things human. Obatala is said to be the one to craft the human body in clay before God breathes life into it. Obatala, for the uninitiated, becomes the Orisha of protection because Obatala cares about all things human. So as I'm reading this, I'm going, this is so Jose, okay? He is a kind of person who's very, very focused. Obatala is about truth. It's about truth. Obatala's number is 8, the stars, the points. Obatala's color is white. Obatala's favorite minerals or crystals are howlite, crystal, quartz, rock crystal. I am freaking out.
Oh, wow. I just knew that intuitively.
You know, and usually when I go to that, oh my God, I go, oh, Jesus, Mary, Joseph, Obatala, all the time. I go, you've been calling the Orisha's name all the time. And channeling. That's the magic. That's the show. Beautiful. Okay? So that's where the piece comes from. It's just like that.